Let's talk about the money that is being spent. I think that there needs to be a federal audit against the company that we have contracted out to take care of the migrants. We have nurses that are being paid $64,000 a month. We have security officers that are being paid as much as $24,000 a month. We have home health care workers that are being paid up to $17,000 a month. You don't think that Chicagoans could have benefited from that? We have citizens in this city that have been on the waiting list for affordable housing for years, and migrants have been bumped in front of them. We have people who have been given up to $9,000 a month for housing assistance. That amount of money can be life-changing for some families here in the city of Chicago.
All right, guys, so once again, we got to talk about my favorite subject, the migrant crisis that is going on in these liberal cities. Now, before I've talked about this subject, I've talked about how the illegal immigrants are getting uppity, right? Because they have been sheltered in high-end hotels. They've been getting food, housing, healthcare, all on taxpayer dime. And I guess that the illegal immigrants thought that this was normal, that it is perfectly normal to get a luxury experience, even though you came to the country illegally, right? But hey, they're getting a luxury experience in these sanctuary cities because of the sanctuary city policies that the cities were not ever really prepared to enforce, because they never thought that the border would show up to their cities until red states like Texas got smart and started sending the illegals to these liberal blue cities. Now, all of a sudden, they are scrambling for resources in order to take care of the illegal immigrants because they're mandated by their own laws and what they voted for to take care of the illegals. And they are struggling, okay? As some of these migrants are now being forced out of some of the places that they were staying at because it is just much more efficient to house them in shelters. And the illegals are saying, no, we are rejecting these shelters, right? For example, again, I did a story out of New York City where, you know, the illegal immigrants were taken to a shelter and then they immediately turned back around and got on a bus.
The opening of the new migrant shelter at Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn did not go as smoothly as some officials had hoped.
Several migrant families that were bused to the facility refused to stay there. They got right back on the bus. Briella Tomasetti at Floyd Bennett Field. What's going on? How is this possible?
Yeah, it is possible, Rosanna and Dan. Clearly, the situation is not ideal here. It's a transit desert. It is far from everything. It's not close to where parents have to take their kids to school. The bathrooms, the showers are outside. A long list of concerns. I could go on and on. But 23 families with children were expected to arrive here yesterday. Not all of them obviously stayed. A spokesperson for the mayor's office telling the New York Post that while some migrants did reject the site, another busload of asylum seekers arrived at around 2:30 yesterday afternoon, and they did opt to stay. Less than an hour after the first batch of migrants arrived at Brooklyn's Floyd Bennett Field, families boarded the bus that took them there and went back to the Roosevelt Hotel Intake Center. City Council member Joanne Ariola, who represents neighborhoods in Queens, posted on the social media platform X that migrants refused to stay for various reasons, such as location, conditions, and the proximity of the schools where their children are registered. State Assembly member Jamie Williams was on site and echoed those concerns.
It's a very isolated area. When you came in, you have to come all around. So it's not a place where you put women and children, and then the facilities is just not, friendly, especially in the middle of the night if a child or an adult have to get up to go outside of the tent to use that bathroom.
They refused to stay there, which again is fascinating considering how a lot of these people are allegedly refugees and they are seeking asylum from living in conditions that apparently are supposed to be much worse than this, right? But apparently, again, they think that they're too good to stay in the taxpayer-funded shelters. Now, this was tried out in Chicago as well, too, that is currently experiencing the Chicago winter, which I don't wish upon anybody. It's extremely cold. these illegal immigrants, some of whom were living in police stations, they were basically told to go to shelters. Chicago was trying to get them out of the police stations. And some of the illegal immigrants refused, right? They refused to go to the shelter. And then subsequently, they got kicked out of the police station, which a lot of them are complaining about because now they've been put out on the street in the cold after being kicked out of the police station. So without further ado, roll the clip.
We begin here at 10 with breaking news. Migrants who were staying at the 5th District Police Station say they are spending the night outside in frigid temperature.
They tell us they were forced to leave and take their belongings with them. CBS 2's Maribel Gonzalez is live in front of that police station in Pullman tonight. Maribel.
Yeah, that moment was caught on camera and then sent to us. The migrants that are here, as you can see behind me, right now are setting up their beds outside, some of them without a tent, just sleeping on the floor in the cold temperatures. You can also see some of them going in and out of the station lobby, but they tell us they're not allowed to spend the night there.
This is not a game.
Video sent to CBS 2 appears to show an officer from the 5th District Police Station in Pullman telling migrants staying in their lobby to leave.
Tuve 2 días y en verdad
I want everybody out the station, out this lobby, all this junk out of here.
Junk referring to their belongings. Volunteers who work with migrants here telling us this comes after some of the asylum seekers were taken to a shelter Tuesday. According to them, those who didn't go were told by the officer they could no longer sleep in the lobby despite the frigid temperatures.
vamos a hacer un intento en que si podemos.
Some of the migrants we spoke to say there was no more room for them. Others, like this man, didn't want to stay at a shelter. They say this feels like retaliation for staying. We asked Chicago police about this video and if their policy on allowing migrants to sleep in their lobbies has changed. They didn't provide comment, only referring us to the Office of Emergency Management and Communications. We're waiting to hear back from them.
I don't know for sure, but this is what I heard.
Okay.
That they got kicked out.
After hearing the migrants might have to spend the night outdoors, volunteer Jenny Leal and her sister scrambled to find an apartment where some of them could stay. They were able to take in 4 migrants tonight.
A harsh break for them, you know. They're out here in the cold, and this shouldn't be. This shouldn't be for anybody. We serve the homeless in Chicago, too.
The migrants say they want work permits to be able to move into their own places. And although they say they're thankful to the officers who've allowed them to stay here so far,
Aquí agradecido con todas las personas.
they say the way they're being asked to leave and stay out in the cold is inhumane.
No nos pueden tirar como animales afuera.
Now, starting tomorrow, a network of 17 churches citywide will be taking in around 100 migrants into their spaces, providing them with temporary shelter. Volunteers here tell me this could be one of the reasons why the police stations are asking the migrants to leave. Reporting live in Pullman, Maribel Gonzalez, CBS 2 News.
Maribel, thank you.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Now, I do not blame any of the administrators that are running these police stations for kicking out these migrants, right? I don't blame them for being fed up and saying, you know what, y'all got to get y'all junk and you got to leave, especially when they have a place to stay, right, on taxpayer dime. They're being offered a shelter. Now, is the shelter perfect? No, it's not a perfect living situation, but essentially these shelters are being set up despite protests from normal, everyday taxpayers in these cities like Chicago and New York, where they're placing these shelters outside of people's neighborhoods. Again, a lot of people are taking heat, okay? They're taking heat for setting up these shelters. It's being funded by taxpayer dollars. And then for the illegal immigrants to say, oh, nah, I'm too good to stay there, right? I'm not going to stay there. I'm going to stay here instead. I don't blame the Chicago police, the administrators, for saying, nah, y'all got to get up on out of here, right? We're done with this, okay? Because they've been dealing with this for months. Again, not their fault. It's the fault of the woke revolutionaries running the city, who they most likely probably voted for, by the way. I don't know. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I'm not sure exactly where the Chicago police leans in regards to their political preferences, but regardless, that city voted for this, okay? And yeah, there are people that are fed up with it and saying, no, you got to dip. You got to leave, okay? We cannot have you in the police stations when you have a place to stay, okay? Especially when you're talking about it being, sub-freezing, okay? In places like Chicago, it's snowing all the time, right? And, you know, you got a place to stay, and instead you decided, nah, I'm not going to stay there. I'm too good to stay there. I'd rather sleep here at the police station instead than go to the shelter. All right, cool. Well, you know what? You got to go, right? Because you can't stay here. We're going to kick you out in the cold, okay? And then look, here's the thing. People may think that it's harsh, right, in regards to what's happening, but I honestly don't think so, because listen, here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. If you're telling me that you're over here because you are a refugee, you are seeking asylum, what is being implied is that the place that you came from is unlivable. Now, here's the thing. All these people are not coming from Venezuela, which, hey, because of the socialism, because of the communist dictatorship over there, hey, I do believe that it's terrible, right? I've heard stories, you know, from people that I know that have lived in Venezuela about how, you know, bad the conditions are. So I'm not saying that it's not, but all these people are not coming from Venezuela, and they also can wait in other countries, right, that have better living conditions, right, in that area, okay? There's options for them. Some of these people are coming from Mexico, they're coming from Ecuador and some of these other places. But again, if you're coming from a place in which you're basically implying that it's unlivable, it's so unlivable that I had to take me and my child, my whole family, and cross hundreds, if not thousands of miles to come to another country illegally, okay, then, you know, to me, I think that you should just take whatever you get, right? If people say, look, you got to stay in a shelter, you say, thank you so much. I appreciate the fact that you're letting us stay in this shelter, and then you stay in the shelter, right? Especially considering how you have the actual taxpayers who fund this stuff currently protesting you staying in shelters. Actually, protesting you being, you know, here at all, right? And that, again, is what blows my mind. I don't understand how you come to somebody else's country and you now all of a sudden are entitled to try to tell people, or the people that, you know, are in the country, hey, this is where I'm going to stay, right? I'm going to stay here, and that's it, right? I refuse to stay in a place that was paid for me to stay. But you want to stay in a place, a police station, that's not a hotel, right? A police station is not a hotel. An airport is not a hotel, okay? You can't be staying in these places that were not designed for you to be staying in, okay? If you have a place where, you know, it's been paid for, it's designed for you to stay there, then you go and you don't ask any questions, right? I don't want to hear no rebuttals, no boohoo-whining, no crying. You need to go. But then again, you know, see, this is what happens when your country or city is not ran by individuals with common sense, right? Because any of these people that refuse to go to a shelter, you know, if I was running one of these cities, okay, I bet, look, here's a one-way ticket to anywhere you want to go, right? Anywhere you want to go, here's a one-way ticket, and you can't come back. Right, here you go. Here's your ticket. You want to fly back to Venezuela? There you go. You want to fly to Colombia? You want to fly to Ecuador? You want to go to China? You want to go to, you know, Africa, the Middle East? Anywhere you want to go. Here's your one-way ticket, okay? Because clearly you don't like living here, right? You don't want to be here. You don't like it. It's too cold, okay? It's warm in Venezuela. All right, cool. Here's your ticket, right? Here's your ticket. And it would be so much cheaper, right? It would be so much cheaper. But no, because our country and these cities are being run by woke liberals, this is what you get, right? This is what you get. You get migrants who have become so uppity that they can't even stay in shelters that have been paid for with taxpayer dollars, while you currently have taxpayers protesting the building of these shelters in the first place, right? There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into building these shelters, and money as well, too, most importantly. And the ungratefulness, the entitlement, is kind of crazy to see, especially when you're claiming that you're coming from a place where otherwise it would be unlivable to survive, right? It just wouldn't be possible to survive, which, you know, again, this doesn't seem like behavior of people who are coming from places where if they stayed, they wouldn't be able to live. This to me seems to be people who come from places, at the very least, where the standard of living is high enough where they really actually expect to come here to the United States and get luxury treatment. Again, it's amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.